Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges in cybersecurity today, protecting your company's crown jewels. We're talking about the most sensitive digital assets you have. The people on the front lines of this battle, the guardians of this digital kingdom, are often the CyberArk administrators. So, how exactly do they get the job done? Let's dive in. So, let me ask you a question. What are your company's master keys? You know, the keys that could unlock absolutely everything. Your critical servers, your financial databases, your entire cloud infrastructure. Well, those are your privileged accounts. And believe me, for an attacker, they're the ultimate jackpot. And that right there, that is the heart of the problem we're talking about. These master keys, we're talking about things like your Windows administrator account or the root user on a Linux system. They are, without a doubt, target number one for hackers. If an attacker gets their hands on one of these, well, the consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. So you can see why this is so critical, right? The whole game is about managing who gets to use these keys, when they can use them, and what they're allowed to do with them. It is one of the most vital security functions there is. And this is the exact problem that Privileged Access Management, or PAM, was created to solve, with CyberArk being one of the leading solutions out there. Okay, so when you think of CyberArk, don't just picture some piece of software. It's so much more than that. The best way to think about it is like a digital fortress, specifically engineered for one single purpose, to protect those all-important keys to the kingdom. So let's take a look at how this fortress is built. All right, so every good fortress has its key structures, right? CyberArk's is built on four main pillars. You've got the digital vault, that's the treasure room. Then there's the PVWA, which is kind of like the main gatehouse. After that, the CPM, think of it as the tireless automated guard patrol. And finally, the PSM, which is the all-seeing security camera system. Each one of these plays an absolutely vital role. At the very heart of it all is the digital vault. Seriously, this is the core of the entire system. It's the most secure, most heavily fortified part of the whole fortress. We're talking about a completely isolated, hardened server where every single master key, every secret, is locked away under layers and layers of top-tier security. Okay, so if the vault is so locked down, how does anyone get in? Good question. The answer is through the PVWA, which stands for Password Vault Web Access. Just think of it as the one and only secure gatehouse. It's the single entry point, a web portal, where authorized people can go to request access to the credentials they need to do their jobs. Now this next part, this is where the real magic happens. It's all about automation. The CPM, or Central Policy Manager, is like having a guard patrol that works 24/7 and never takes a coffee break. It automatically enforces your security policies. And here's the killer feature. It is constantly changing the passwords on all the accounts it manages. I mean, can you imagine trying to manually change thousands of passwords every day? It's impossible. The CPM does it automatically, which means a stolen key becomes useless almost instantly. And last but not least, we have the PSM, the Privileged Session Manager. This is the all-seeing eye of our fortress. It sees everything. When a user gets access, the PSM steps in, isolates their session, and then monitors and records every single thing they do. You get a complete, tamper-proof audit trail of the session. Talk about accountability. Okay, so that's the architecture. We know how the fortress is built, but what does it look like for the person actually running the show, the administrator? Well, their first big mission is to build out these defenses and get everything configured. One of the very first things they'll do is onboard an account. It's a pretty straightforward process. First, you create what's called a safe, which is basically just a secure little container to hold the credentials. Then you add the actual account into that safe. After that, you define the rules, how often to change the password and so on. And finally, you just verify that CyberArk has taken full control. And designing these safes properly is, well, it's absolutely critical. This gets to a core concept in all of cybersecurity, the principle of least privilege. It's a simple idea, really. You only give people the absolute bare minimum access they need to do their jobs. Nothing more, nothing less. This is just fundamental to a strong defense. All right, so the walls are up, the initial defenses are configured. Now, the job shifts. It's no longer just about setup. It's about the dynamic, day-to-day operations. This is where the fortress really comes alive and starts doing its job 24/7 to keep the kingdom secure. Let's just paint a picture here. Before something like CyberArk, what do you have? You've got passwords that are rarely changed, shared among users, and are totally unmonitored. It's chaos, a security nightmare. But with CyberArk, you get automated password rotation, strict access controls, and full session monitoring. It is literally the difference between chaos and control. So when you put it all together, automating all those password changes with the CPM and watching every session with the PSM, you can see how the risk just plummets. The chance of someone stealing a credential and using it goes way, way down. You're basically shrinking your attack surface, which makes the entire organization a whole lot safer. But hey, it's not just about stopping attacks in real time. A massive part of an admin's role is being able to prove that the organization is secure, for the auditors. This means enforcing policies and being able to generate the reports that show you're doing everything by the book. And honestly, this is an area where the system is an absolute lifesaver. When an auditor asks, "Can you show me who accessed this server and what they did?" you can just pull up the detailed logs from the PVWA and the session recordings from the PSM. These features map directly to what compliance standards like ISO 27001 or NIST require. It makes those painful audits so much smoother. And it's important to remember that CyberArk isn't an island, it's a team player. A key task for the admin is making sure it talks to other security tools. For example, feeding all that rich data into a SIEM tool, like Splunk. When you do that, you give your security team that single pane of glass view, so they can see all the most critical activity in one place. So let's bring this all home. When you boil it all down, what are the core duties of this digital guardian, the CyberArk Administrator? It really is about being the master of this entire fortress. On any given day, their world revolves around a few key functions. They're managing the safes and permissions, they're onboarding new accounts, they're enforcing password policies, they're monitoring sessions, ensuring compliance, and of course, making sure the CyberArk system itself is healthy and ready for anything. So the big takeaway here should be pretty clear. An effective CyberArk admin isn't just some system operator clicking buttons. No way. They are a frontline defender of the organization's most valuable assets. It's a role with immense responsibility and importance. And all of this brings us to one final, really important question. You can have the best technology in the world, a fortress that seems completely impenetrable. But at the end of the day, it's the skill, diligence, and expertise of the human administrator, the guardian, that ultimately ensures the keys to the kingdom remain safe.
If you enjoyed this complete video, please like the video, share the video with others, and subscribe to the channel for more cloud and IT courses, and leave a comment with your feedback or future course suggestions.